Play movie.
Hi everybody, it's Sam. It's February 5th, and this is my vlog after seeing Dr. Cleary. So the news is, as expected, he diagnosed me with psychosis. He listened to what I had to say. The first thing that I should say is that these psychiatrists have a lot of people to see. They come, what the doctors do is they come to the facility and take a room, whether it's a conference room, doctor's office, and see their people. And usually it's like 40 people to see in probably a few hours. And they have to go to the hospital to do their rounds. They have to probably go to other facilities. So they see you only for like 5 or 10 minutes at the very least. Sometimes longer if you have a social worker with you. But mostly it's just a nurse that does charting, and that's about it. Sometimes it's the director of nursing or assistant director. I kind of wished it was Chris or Daisy. Unfortunately, it was Helen, who is this nurse that I don't like very much. No one really does. But anyway, so I had a very short time with him, and there was nothing that you could do about it. That's just how it works. So I told him much of what happened and how the sequence happened, and he was like, so, one thing that pointed out to me that he's like, so this started when you were still 29. And I was like, yeah. But then I was like, wow, I didn't realize that it had been like that long that this has been going on. So I told him how things go and what I sense. I couldn't really explain everything because he was in a rush and he didn't ask that many questions. He asked he asked what the things look like, and I said I could sense kind of what they look like, and he asked, did you ever have enough sight to know what something looked like? And I said no, but they tell me in their own way like what hair color they have, and that's a whole other story, how I can even see pictures, get these detailed pictures in my head when I'm physically blind. But anyways, and I told, and the thing is, I've been keeping this to myself, but not to myself in a way, because I've been working with my friend so hard on this, and she's been helping me so much understand it from her point of view and not be afraid. So when I talk about it, I can sit and just talk about it, and I'm not upset. I don't cry anymore. Well, in front of. I wasn't upset when I talked about it, because any other time I'd gotten upset, he'd be like, "Is it so bad that you're sobbing? Is it really so bad?" And that's how like Jess thinks that he has anxiety himself. So I didn't want him to act like that. I didn't want the nurse to get upset and whatever. I didn't want anyone to say I needed to go to the hospital. I've seen psychiatrists ask people questions about voices and whatever else in much more detail than he asked me, which I think is interesting. So I could tell him what was going on, and then I said, okay. He's kind of like, well, this is bizarre phenomenon. I'm like, really? Is that a mental health term? Like, in my head, I was like, okay. He kept emphasizing, why didn't I tell anyone this? And I said I had told staff once or twice. Coming in here and hearing what I heard from, Sarah and Jessica set the whole mood of my stay here pretty quickly. And even if they hadn't said what they said, I would have gotten it pretty quickly that these people were not really invested in connecting with you over, making the relationship be, therapeutic to you. That it's all about just, they will just tell you coping skills, whatever, but they're not going to be there for you, caring, like I said, therapeutically there. And that's what I need, and what I think anyone needs is, and there are some people that really seek it out. They've been here for years and they basically demand it. And they're bold enough to be like, no, you need to talk to me. You need to do this. Whatever. That's just in their nature or whatever to do that. I've done that in the past when I've been really vulnerable and like thrown myself at say, staff and just been like, no, you need to hear me, like blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that now because I've been, the big hurt was when Jonathan, stepped away because he was so afraid of everything. So I haven't been as vulnerable to just be who I am in front of a staff person since the whole Jonathan thing. And I was vulnerable when I first came here because I felt like I could be, because I was told that they valued, trauma informed and connection and all this stuff, and it is the opposite when they ever told me, well, we don't focus on our relationships with with residents. You need to do everything on your own, be quote unquote empowered, whatever. So that set the stage for me not to open up. I mean, just it's a no-brainer. And so I will tell something to staff once or twice. If they just act like I'm talking to a wall, I'm not going to say any more. I mean, think about it. That's just I'm not going to sit there and keep talking. And I know enough to not say what's going on in my head out loud. Try not to react to anything that I'm feeling from, that's non-physical. And that's come from having the outlet of my friend. And also having it just be, I guess, normal, quote unquote, as in around a lot. And so I'm used to the different feelings. But that doesn't mean I want to be, and it doesn't mean I like them, and it doesn't mean that I always feel secure in that whatever this isn't going to take control and, grab my hands and have me hit someone or throw someone or whatever. I mean, one of them said, I think it was last night or today, like, I'd love to practice throwing forks. No, like, I am not going to start throwing things just because you want to practice throwing things at people. And this wasn't a kid, this was an adult that was like, I want to practice, like, fork throwing, knife, and I was just like, no. But if I had been, any frazzled or off my guard, the person could have just grabbed my hand and grabbed the thing and thrown it. And then, I would have been wherever, 1-to-1. So it's a balancing act for me. It's a juggling act. It's not something that I should be having to deal with in my head all 24/7. And, whatever. So what Cleary most questioned was, why haven't I told? And I said why I didn't tell. And he sort of knows. Like, he knows what they're like. And he said, I know what they're like. At the same time, he recommended you talk because he doesn't have the time to talk to you in depth. And, like, so when I finally asked him, what do you think this is? And he's like, well, it's not uncommon for the onset of these symptoms to come on. I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, psychosis. And I said, okay. And I said, so what causes it? And he's like, well, there are a million things that cause it. And, we don't know specifically, and sometimes it doesn't have one cause. But basically he said all that because he can't give, like, hard and fast diagnosis in 10 minutes or 5 minutes on something. And he recommends that you talk to staff because that's what he is told to do, but I guess people have told him how dumb social workers are here, and I guess at his other facilities social workers come to the thing and here they don't. But I was just me, and I said, no, I'm not gonna be sitting and talking to you. And so I'm gonna be sitting and talking to staff until I move. And I think that I don't know if we're gonna stay here until my parents have a house set up in back east, because I'm getting so tired of this place and how they are and how fake they are and how they don't even bother to hide it, And so he goes to a couple of other facilities, and we might look into those. They're smaller. They're the smallest ones. They have like 90 people in them. So I don't know. When we visited, they had working. The elevator was working. It seemed better than ours. You would be like in a 3-person room. I'm not sure though. Anyway, it's just something to think about because I'm just like so exhausted by here, and I'm not gonna move an inch. I'm not gonna, just talk because they say to talk, and just they're just gonna say I have no idea, just like they did with the other thing. So he said he would put me on seroquel, which is not surprising, that's an antipsychotic, at night, and he has taken off my Benadryl and Ativan. And I'm kind of worried about that, especially with the Ativan, because I was on it for 5 years at night. 1 milligram every night. And I've heard that this type of drug, the benzo, whatever, is not good when you just stop it without any, weaning off it. And I wasn't able to ask him because right at the end was when it was a good thing I asked him, because I said, he said, you're taking this at night, and I said, what about the Benadryl? And he said, no, I don't want to mix it with the Benadryl because, that can make it, worse. Basically, he just wants to see how this med works, obviously, without anything else that's going to put me to sleep. Because it's supposed to make you really tired. And lightheaded, which I hope it doesn't, because I do my turning white routine when I'm not eating and whatever. I also saw for side effects seizures, which I had seizures with Wellbutrin, and so I just really hope I don't have it again. He didn't mention it, and the psychiatrist didn't mention it that prescribed Wellbutrin, except he said seizures very low chance. Like him and his English weren't great, so we really couldn't talk that well. But with Cleary, it was just, the nurse was basically trying to rush me out of the room, and it's like, no, I need to tell you this. I need to tell him this before he gives me a pill. It's bad enough we can't go into it. So we're going to try it. I'm going to ask the nurse tonight and director of nursing tomorrow about the Ativan, because I'm concerned about that, and I didn't even get a chance to think about it, because by the time I said the Benadryl, I said, what about the Ativan? He's like, oh, I stopped that. So, I would have gone up to the meds and not had Ativan and been so confused and upset because I hadn't asked him and he hadn't told me. So that's also how things can go, and it's not he's not a bad guy. He is a good guy. His dogs are very good. He brings his dogs with him, and we think that calms him down. And the dog was, up on my lap. I think it knew I was anxious, and I think it was anxious, and we were anxious together. But that wasn't unexpected. I wish he had given me more information about the brain and how this actually happens generally, so I can know, I know how depression and anxiety work. I tried to look up seroquel to see how it works, but all of the I'm tired and I haven't even taken medicine. But all of the stuff I found was really, one of it was it can help your mood, it can help you be more positive in your life. I'm okay, whatever. Or the other thing I found was really scientific sounding, and I'm I can't understand this. So if anyone's taken seroquel or knows about this, sort of what I'm saying, what I've been talking about that is called psychosis, broadly. If you want to share your experiences, I told him what my friend told me, which is don't just tell them to go away, these things, and push them away, and don't let them work very hard to not let them take you over, or have the nice ones deal with them. And he just said don't interact at all. And I'm well, if I don't interact, they just kind of build up in my, they do any, it's like a little kid, they do anything to get me to pay attention, including take over, and when I'm off my guard. So it's not as simple as don't react. There's there could be any of them, any person, anything to get me to do something, that's just how they are. And there are two nice ones. There are two nice things that are really powerful, but there's still a million of these other things that can just come up any time they feel like. So yeah, he said that it could be in a matter of days that this could stop. I hope that's true, and I hope that I don't have any side effects on no Ativan all of a sudden, because I've heard stuff. I don't want to make myself nervous, but I've heard a lot of stuff on just stopping an anti-anxiety thing. And I'm also kind of nervous because that means that this whole anti-anxiety, the Ativan isn't in my system at all anymore, except if I have a PRN. And now it's just the Buspar. So my whole balance of the whole anti-anxiety chemicals is going to be screwed up. But he was saying that the seroquel helps with anxiety. So I don't know if that rebalances everything. He was talking about, sleeplessness, and I'm well, I don't have sleeplessness. That's really not the problem. It's, during the day. So, but I guess this pill makes you tired, so that's why they're giving it to me at night. So that is the story, and we'll see how I feel, I guess tonight or tomorrow, whenever I get the pill. Another thing I hope is not a problem is insurance. I didn't get to ask him because we were rushed. To make sure Medicaid covered this pill, because in the past, I think it was seroquel. I don't know. I was so zoned out in 2013 when I had that hospitalization. I think they gave me something, and this has happened twice. They gave me in the hospital. They gave me something, and then in the Medicaid said they wouldn't pay for it. So, we're just gonna have to hope for the best, and that doesn't happen, and that nothing of note happens as a side effect of the med changes. I hope they work, and I hope that I know he took it seriously, because if he didn't, he would have just said, oh, this is anxiety, just go to therapy like he did with the other stuff. And maybe if I had put it this way months ago and actually did open up to it, maybe he would have given me the med. I don't know. I just wish that the caseworkers were more hands-on, because if they were, it would be a different story. If I had Edith for this, it would have been so different. She would have made sure, from the beginning, that this was dealt with. But say, with this situation, she would have been right there with me in the doctor's appointment. She would have been talking to me all the time about it, listening about it. She used to love teaching this group that they don't have here called Understanding Voices, and it was people talking about their experience with hearing voices and seeing things, and she said it was the most interesting group because no two people are alike, and no two people have the same way of trying to deal with it. It's so individual, and she loved it, and she had no judgment, and she just loved listening about it. And I don't know if therapy would have gone differently too if I hadn't really caught on to the spirituality thing. If Megan would have done anything different, I think she would have encouraged me and the others as they were to collaborate, I guess, and I'm not sure how that would have turned out. So you just don't know, but I open up to him because I trust him, and I can sense in him that he's not a bad guy. He's not into having power over you. He's anxious himself. He's probably stressed out himself. And I trust him. I don't trust a lot of other staff here. I trust Chris and Daisy. I trust the nurse. I trust nursing. I trust the director of nursing. The social workers, not really. I've talked to Rob, and I talked to Rob and Keisha in a care plan about, and I called it altered perception. And that's what Cleary was like, well, it's not real. I'm like, yeah, I know rationally it's not real. I feel that it's real. And when they grab me, it's real. And when they tell me scary things, it feels real to me. And I'm fighting this stuff, and I don't open up because I don't feel safe opening up. But in my room, I just feel like a mess, So anyways, that's the thing, and that's kind of where I am. I'm hopeful that the medication does something good, and that there's no effects of stopping the Ativan, and I'm trying not to get myself, think about it, because everyone has horror stories about different medications, but I've read all this stuff about you can't stop a benzo and you're going to go crazy and it's going to kill you, and my body handles meds well, except for the Wellbutrin. And that took several months to figure out. But I have faith that if something goes wrong, they will help. He will help with this. So that's about it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Skype. My movement. Ribbon. Web. Stop.